Thank you very much, and certainly it's a pleasure for me this morning to speak to this function. And before I get into some of my remarks, it was great yesterday to meet with Paul and Mark and Olivia and the Board of Trade. We met with the Premier yesterday and had some very informative discussion with regard to P3s, and I'm not going to say a whole lot about that until near the end of my remarks. And so it's certainly a pleasure, the Board of Trade Chair Des and CEO Nancy, and of course Mark, the President and CEO of the Canadian Council of Public and Private Partnerships. Thank you for the invitation to participate in your event today. Over the last few evenings, I've sat with my colleagues in the House of Assembly and debated some important issues well into the night. And this is our first legislative session as a government, and it has certainly been a new and rewarding experience. Unfortunately, my staff, some of them are here today, continues to book me for early morning events the day after a long night in the legislature. The House adjourned at 1:30 a.m. the morning before last, and I performed a live interview on CBC before 8 o'clock that morning. And last night, we sat until shortly before midnight, and here I am this morning. And this is my way of saying that if you find my speech boring, or if I happen to fall asleep at the podium, just give me some latitude, and I'd appreciate that. I say this with jest, of course, because early mornings and late nights are something everyone in this room can relate to. And anyone who's been in business, we know that it's not 9 to 5. And many times, as a business person, I would find myself in the late hours of the night as well. Working on behalf of your constituents and your clients, your shareholders, and others often requires long hours. Any great idea needs an investment of time, and so I can sincerely, it's my pleasure to join you this morning and contribute to the communication and exchange of ideas with members of the Board of Trade and, of course, the Canadian Council of Public-Private Partnerships. Both of your organizations make a tremendous contribution, and it is my pleasure to speak with you today. Discussion and education regarding the public and private partnerships is important to government as we assess the best possible way to deliver services to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. Since being sworn in as Minister of Transportation and Works late last fall, I have made it a priority to build partnerships with many organizations and individuals that are central to the work of the department. I've had an insightful and valuable discussions already with ferry committees and community leaders in Fogo Island, Change Islands, Belle Island, Strait of Belle Isle, and we'll be meeting with all ferry committees across the province over this summer. I've also met with industry groups such as the Newfoundland Labrador Heavy Civil Association, Newfoundland Labrador Construction Association, as well as Save Our People Action Committee, the Nunavut government, amongst many others, and individuals and groups, including the St. John's Board of Trade. Building strong working relationships is critical to the success of this province, and I'm completely committed to an open door policy, and I welcome opinions and suggestions on any issues. Some of my responsibilities include the construction management of provincial government buildings, leading construction and maintenance of the provincial highways, providing provincial ferry services, and managing the provincial government fleet of light vehicles and heavy equipment. While satisfying these very important roles and responsibilities, I am strongly focused on maintaining open communication and transparency while developing strong working relationships and partnerships across the board. This is also the mandate of our government and Premier Dwight Ball. We can all agree that little can be accomplished without working together. The only successful approach to solving an issue is by working cooperatively, and our government welcomes the input and ideas of our partners and our stakeholders. There is no doubt that we are facing many challenges as we move forward. Our province is in a very difficult fiscal situation that continues to change with the price of oil and other economic pressures. We are addressing the magnitude of this problem through short, medium, and long-term measures to correct the course, which began with Budget 2016. We have had to make very, very difficult decisions to rectify the level of overspending that has occurred over the past number of years. We recognize that the budget creates challenges for all of us. We understand the pressures that individuals and families may feel as a result of the actions taken. However, it is incumbent upon us as a government to make sure that going forward, we position the province for success. While the budget contains some difficult measures and some tough decisions and some tough choices, doing nothing was not an option to address a potential $2.7 billion debt. This year's budget lays the foundation to regain control of government finances and is guided by several fundamental values. We will take care of the most vulnerable in our province with the Newfoundland and Labrador Income Supplement. We will ensure that the current generation, that critical services are protected, and we will make government more efficient so as not to saddle future generations with debt. We will protect future generations with the creation of a diversified wealth fund when we return to surplus that will prevent any future governments from leaving our province in a fiscal situation we find ourselves in. And despite the challenges and the difficult measures taken, there are several key priorities outlined in the budget that reflect strategic actions in areas that are important to the people of this province. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention them. The new quarterly income supplement that will assist the most vulnerable in our province, lessening the impact of the tax measures on low-income earners. There are increases to the seniors benefit, which is an added payment to low-income seniors who will also receive the new quarterly income supplement. Low-income seniors are eligible for increases to these benefits, again lessening the impact of tax measures. No one welcomes tax increases or fee changes. However, even with the increase to personal income tax rates, we are still paying less in personal income tax now than we did in 2006. On the infrastructure and transportation front, through Budget 2016, $570 million is being invested in key areas, including roads, schools, healthcare facilities, and municipal infrastructure projects. A little away from the script now, because I think this is where opportunities for us as a province going forward to look at working more in partnership with organizations that have the expertise and have had the history of success. And so that leads into the P3 piece. And this includes $62 million for the Provincial Roads Program, which facilitates many very valuable projects important to both government and our cities and our towns. These investments encourage economic growth. They create jobs and assist with leveraging the federal funding. The budget this year also allocates $63.7 million to continue the Trans-Labrador Highway project and opportunities to ensure that we can leverage federal funding for road projects. Team Gusha Highway project will continue through an investment of $23 million. And this construction season will also see numerous projects valued at $55 million in provincial and cost-shared funding that are continuing from previous years. Through our investments, This will be a very active year for road construction and maintenance that will benefit the construction industry and communities throughout the province. Our release of early tenders was meant to kickstart the economy, and I think we expressed our interest at the point to work with industry to support our province's growth. Getting people to work is more important now than ever before. Consistent, reliable transportation infrastructure is essential to the provincial economy. As part of our platform last fall, and as part of the mandate given to me by the Premier, our approach to determining road work and maintenance must be based on evidence and evaluation. Our planning must be transparent, must be accountable to the people of this province. Early tenders allow industry to take full advantage of our province's short construction season. It gives companies more time to budget and prepare for work. And for the residents of our province, it results in better value for money and projects being completed on schedule. Early tendering is one aspect of a multi-year transportation infrastructure plan that our government will introduce that will outline major projects for the coming years. I was pleased to make the announcement of early tenders and to note our government strategy, a strategy that may be of particular interest to many of you. Safety on our roads and our highways was key in determining necessary and strategic investments in our infrastructure network and maintenance. Our government, through Budget 2016, provides $61.6 million to support our heavy equipment fleet and our snow and ice control operations. If you've ever seen a yellow snowplow on the Trans-Canada Highway in the middle of a blizzard, you would agree that transportation works crews undertake critical work year-round. Budget 2016 ensures funding for summer and a winter maintenance program is maintained. We are also investing in important brush clearing and advancing the actions contained in our moose management plan to help reduce the incidence of moose vehicle collisions. Road safety is of great importance to me. And that said, the past few weeks have been exceptionally tragic on our province's roads. Moose collisions, fatalities, and other road-related incidents have been front and center in the news for days. And it just so happens that this is National Road Safety Week. And we know that driving anywhere is dangerous. As Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, we know that all too well. Our government's investment, all but lost in the budget discussion as of late, into road upgrades through early tenders clearly supports our road safety priority. I was really surprised, and I'm off script. They tell me I should never get off script, but I'm going to get off script for a moment. We have to do business in this province better than we've been doing it. And one of the things I noticed when I took over in December, I could not believe the amount of work that was tendered out. You got to realize, Newfoundland and Labrador, and you tender out work for road work in September, that is just totally unacceptable. And it will not be tolerated by this government taking actions like that. There's absolutely no way that you could possibly tender work in September when you have a short construction season in Newfoundland and Labrador. This will not happen. And that's one of the reasons I made it a priority. I've taken two things out of the system. I've tried to take the politics out of it, and I've asked my people to get in there and identify the road work that we need done on a priority basis, and we use the criteria to get to that point without a political lens. That's number one. Number two, I wanted to make sure that every road work that we had this year, that we were out before the end of March or the middle of April with our tenders. And so far, we've been able to do that. So that this will give construction companies the opportunity to be able to get the work done in a construction season and not have to rush. And so these are just two of the commitments that I thought I need to plug in there because I think it's important. We will also update the decade-old review on the fixed link from St. Barbe to Blanc-Sablon. And this review will determine, and I'm not calling it a study, note that, this review will determine the economic benefit, the opportunities for partnerships, and informed decisions on the future Labrador transportation strategy. Our government was successful in having the federal government waive the $25 million tariff that was charged on our provincial new ferries. And that was my first real task with the federal government, and it proved to be okay. As a result of that successful negotiation, we now have $25 million to put toward critical areas across government. Budget 2016 also includes commitments to health care and to education infrastructure. Nearly $106 million is included in the budget for school infrastructure projects, including funding to continue the construction of 6 new schools, 2 major extension projects, and begin planning for a 3rd major extension, repairs and maintenance. The construction of a new mental health facility to replace the Waterford Hospital is a priority and will proceed. And this year we've put $2.5 million allocated to support further planning and design of a new facility. The planning process will involve finding the right tool for design, for construction, for financing, and possible maintenance of the project, including traditional delivery and performance-based infrastructure approaches. Further, our government remains committed to replacing the Western Memorial Regional Hospital, and the budget this year will allocate $8.5 million to support the continued planning and design of a new hospital. With ever-increasing demands on long-term care, we recognize the importance of expanding the availability of facilities to meet the needs of residents and deliver high-quality services to seniors. With this in mind, our government will ensure that all potential options for providing both long-term care facilities and services are explored. We need to focus on due diligence and getting it right, particularly in the current economic environment. This approach is about better planning and a commitment to ensure that services are delivered by the public service. This may include such options as privately owned and maintained facilities with care provided by the public sector, or privately owned and maintained facilities with non-clinical services provided by the private sector and direct care provided by the public sector. With this in mind, the budget includes $2 million in new funding to plan for long-term care in Western and Central regions. This investment will help determine the right delivery for all aspects of such a project, including design, construction, financing, maintenance, and direct care of patients. There is no doubt that there is a need for critical public infrastructure. All of us collectively are very much aware that there are limited government resources. Our goal as a government is to provide services to the people of the province that is high quality and represents the best value for money. We believe in partnering with the private sector and commit to continued consultation and collaboration on public policy development. We believe there are opportunities for partnerships, and we are assessing all options. The end game is finding the model that makes the most sense for our province and that respects the roles and responsibilities of the public service. Each of you and your businesses make an enormous contribution to our cities and our towns throughout Newfoundland and Labrador, as I referenced at the beginning of my speech. Your work is critical. It's critical to meeting the needs of residents for generations to come, as well as supporting the economic growth in our urban and our rural communities. I welcome opportunities to move forward together in cooperation for the betterment of our province, and there is much work to be done. My remarks this morning were meant to remind you that our province is on the cusp of regenerating itself, and government is writing the course. There's a lot happening here and now. We must work together to ensure that our short-term austerity measures provide for long-term opportunities. This can only be accomplished by working cooperatively with industry. And I'm interested in hearing your thoughts and how you might contribute to our future over and above the important work that you already do. Thank you again for the opportunity to participate this morning, and I certainly look forward to speaking with many of you over the next days, weeks, and months as we prepare for a sustainable future for this beautiful province of Newfoundland and Labrador. I wish you every success at this half-day seminar and anticipate that you will have some extremely significant deliberations among your peers. Thank you very much.